Hi, my name is Gabby Richardson, and you are listening to The Nexus of Narratives, where we use stories to bring people together across different belief systems. So every Monday, join me and a special guest to talk about formative moments in life where people were invited to take a look at those beliefs that they've developed about themselves or the world around them and how those beliefs were formed, what that pivotal moment in life was, and how that may have cemented or shifted those beliefs, and then what life has been like with this new frame of reference and this new frame of mind. And may this be a channel to bring people together across different belief systems by building compassion and understanding and empathy for experiences that are different from our own, by having a little bit wider of a view of the complexity of our everyday humans. So every Monday, we release an episode here on your favorite podcast platform. There's also bonus content available on Patreon, so follow us on Patreon. There are tiers starting at $1 a month. And follow on social media, all Nexus of Narratives. We'd love to stay connected, hear your own stories, connect with you, share ways to be compassionate with one another and build a more connected world. So this episode today is with Paul Lamar Hunter. He is the 19th of 21 natural born children to both his mother and father. So it is a wonderful conversation that I had with Paul about his very unique experience navigating this world and in his shoes. The only warning that I would offer to people who are listening is please be sensitive. There is mention of suicidal ideation. And otherwise, please, as always, take care of yourselves as you're listening and enjoy this conversation. And let's stay connected and keep this conversation going on Patreon or on social media. Search Nexus of Narratives and we'll see you there. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the Nexus of Narratives. I'm here with Paul Lamar Hunter, so thank you so much for taking the time to join the Nexus of Narratives and share your story. So I'm really excited to share space with you. Thank you. And I met you on Instagram, I think was where you first reached out, which was really cool. And you had shared a little bit about yourself and offered, hey, if you're looking to have guests, I'd love to join, which I was extremely grateful for. And as I've talked to you, I've been so grateful for your openness and vulnerability. And so I'm really excited to dig in and learn even more about you and share your story. So just briefly, if you were to bump into somebody in line to grab coffee or tea and you were to briefly introduce yourself, what would you say?
I think the first thing that I would say hello. I would introduce myself as Paul Lamar Hunter, the 19th child out of 21 natural children. And I asked them the question, and the first question I would ask is, how is your day going? Because it's very important that you engage the public and try to make that connection, because I am a people's person. So I always want to connect with the people so I can get connected with them and know what is going on in their life, because you never know the person that you are engaging in a conversation with, what trials or tribulations that they are experiencing that particular day. And your words of encouragement can change the directory of their lives.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And it's so true. And it makes me think of often like the differences when someone will ask, well, how are you doing? How is your day going? Sometimes it's extremely genuine, which I would interpret your ask of that as genuine and curious and caring, as opposed to sometimes I think people ask it because it feels like a cultural formality and they might not know what to do if they get an answer that's not, oh yeah, I'm good, and then carry on. So I would actually offer it as an invitation for anyone who is asked, how are you doing? To be honest.
Yes.
It could be a heartfelt invitation from another person and an opportunity to create connection.
Yes,
So,
you are 100% correct.
Hmm. Well, we're all about building connection here and, sharing and being open. So then my invitation comes to you is wherever you would like to start for the story that you're here to share. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, once again, I am Paul Lamar Hunter. I am the 19th child out of 21 children. Yes, my mother birthed 21 children by my dad. So my father was laying the pipe and my mother was getting a delight. So every night they were in a fight. They just really enjoy the connection that they had spiritually, physically, mentally, and sexually. So that's the reason why she birthed 21 children. But if you do the math, Gabby, my mother actually, she stayed pregnant for 15 straight years. And it's amazing because when you find out that how a woman gives birth to a child, and as a man, I tell God every day, thank you for making me a man because I don't want to go through that. So I have a lot of respect for women that gives birth. So as of today, there is 17 of us living today, 64 grandchildren, and 87 great grandchildren. So, Gabby, we have us football team, basketball team, a hockey team. You understand? We can also have a tennis team, but we can compete against each other. So the family is it's great. I was raised in the city of Racine, Wisconsin. Population is about 90,000 people there. Great state to live in, but you got to get out during the wintertime. And so I love the state of Wisconsin. I don't live there now, but I just know it is a great place to live. And so people need to understand that, yes, the Hunter family is bigger than the Duggars family. So the Duggars family have 19, we have 21. So we got them beat by just by two.
Wow. That's when, so in conversations with my family, I've told you I have one child. And I think just the strength of a person to carry that many children, deliver that many children is admirable because I just immediately think I'm like, oh goodness, thinking about my body and remembering my experience. So, wow. Just a deep admiration for the strength and resilience of your mother to do that many times.
Well,
um,
I have to say this, and when you look at it, you was like, a lot of my friends when they find out that my mother birthed 21 children, they always say, "Wow, that's a lot of sex," and I say, "Yeah, it's a lot of sex." And I tell them, I say, "Listen, my mother and my father, they had a very high sex drive. That's the reason why they had so many kids."
but I think also incredible that the entire like now in my generation, it's not as common that people will stay together in a relationship long enough to live life together for that long, have that much family, and have a relationship that is resilient enough to withstand all of the ups and downs of life and connection and raising that many humans is a huge, huge demand on connection and resilience as people too. That's extremely admirable as well. So
Yeah,
wow,
it
wow, wow,
shows
wow.
it shows the power of resiliency. It shows the power of perseverance. It shows the power of discipline. It shows the power of determination. It shows the power of love. And also, most importantly, I must say, it shows the power of faith that my mom and my daddy had in God.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. So, what was that like for you growing up? And sort of, I feel like that landscape of developing an identity, developing beliefs about yourself and the world around you and your family. What was that experience like? And what kind of beliefs did you notice or have you noticed really were
Well,
developed within you?
my beliefs developed through my parents because my parents was very hardworking. Um, my dad worked two jobs. My mom worked a part-time job, but they cultivated the way we think today and the way we set goals in life because Mom would get up at 5 in the morning, make sure that my older siblings are up with her so they can all get us prepared for school. And once after school on Wednesday, we would have Bible study, from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. Then on Thursday, we would have choir practice inside our home. On Sunday was the amazing day, I believe, because they will start in the morning, start cooking, and my mother and my older siblings will prepare the food, and then by 10 o'clock, we heading out of the house. And so we had two station wagons and we have a van. So the station wagon was it was like the Brady Bunch, if you remember the segment, the Brady Bunch. So we had two station wagons and also we had a van, and we used to all pile up and just head to church. And then after church, the pastor would come sit at the table and pray, and we would all eat, have conversations, and don't let it be football season. We sit in front of the television, we watching the Green Bay Packers versus whoever they're playing. But I think that my mom and dad did a tremendous job in cultivating our minds and also cultivating our faith to go further in life and to have a mindset of never giving up.
Mm. And oh, that's so beautiful. There are so many really tremendous nuggets and bites in that is the modeling and demonstration of hardworking, committed, dedicated, which I would imagine it takes so much discipline to lead a family with so many children and have that schedule, have the values, pay attention to like ensuring that you're all raised with your education, with your religion, and with balance, and with activities, and with being involved here and enjoying sports here. That's a lot of discipline and commitment. So that's incredible, and I love that you highlighted that as well. And how would you say? I would love to hear like some different moments in your life of like specific moments that really highlighted some of those beliefs for you, or where you maybe struggled with some of the beliefs that came up in your world.
I think what really shaped my belief is when my mother told us that when she was pregnant with the 14th child, they were living in a two-bedroom home at that particular time. And one day the sheriff came knocking on the door, and the sheriff had received several calls that it was too many people living in this two-bedroom home. He told my mom and dad that they have 72 hours to vacate. That night, my mom and dad went to church, and the pastor and the members prayed for a miracle to happen. Mom and dad left church, went home. The next day, a stranger came knocking at the door. He wanted to give my mother and father a home, an 18-bedroom home. He wanted to show them. Mom and dad went with this stranger, looked at this 18-bedroom home, and this man told my mom and dad, this home is yours. Only one condition: you must pay me $1 for this home. My mom did not have 25. Um, she did not have four quarters. My dad did not have $1. They did not have 100 pennies. All right. So the man went into his wallet and gave my mother the dollar to pay for this home. So you talking about fate, you talking about adversity knocking at your door, you talking about pressure coming into your home and say you will have 72 hours to vacate. And this was in the heart of cold in the month of February. So God has always, turned the situation around. What some people meant for good, for excuse me, what some people meant for evil, God would turn it around for good. And that's what he did. He has always performed miracles after miracles after miracles in the Hunter family life. So that's the reason why it's very important that people go out and purchase my mother's book, Love and Charity, the life story of Louise Hunter, and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter, because since somebody had performed a miracle in our life, my mother was able to start the first homeless shelter in the city of Racine, Wisconsin. With no formal education, but what she had was some wisdom, understanding, and guidance from the man above. So when somebody came and helped us out, my mother decided to, turn the favor and help somebody out. So she has been a beacon in the community, not just for having 21 children, but also for being a Mother Teresa in the neighborhood and serving other people.
That's incredible. And so one of my personal beliefs is that for people who go through life authentically, genuinely giving with no expectation for receiving, people with a good, just wholesome heart with pure intentions who give and support community, that will be returned to them through unknown means. It doesn't have to be directly back from the source, but I believe when we as people offer good, we receive good. And from what I hear is like, that's exactly what happened with your family, is that your mother was this symbol, this woman of offering good to the community, to the family. And when receiving such a huge gift and miracle, she then was like, well, wonderful. Now there's more good that I can give and offer to the world and create impact and legacy and help support people for generations to come. Because then I feel like it would be hard to quantify how many people's lives were changed in that
Yes.
act of her now having the capacity to
Yes.
open this shelter.
It really impacted a lot of people's lives. That when my mother passed away 4 years ago, it was standing room only. And people was also outside waiting to, see my mother for the last time, because it was so many lives that she had shaped into the community, from Black to white to Hispanics to all nationalities that she had helped. And, it's all because somebody had helped us out. And it really made my mother faith increase and go to another level in life. And so, my mother wasn't perfect, but I tell you what, she was the perfect person that God created to be a blessing in people's lives.
That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I feel the deep love and respect that you carry for her as well. And I want to go back to the story that you shared about the moment where the sheriff knocked on the door and said you have 72 hours, and then this miracle of essentially being gifted this home to support your family. What was that experience like for you personally, and how did that shape and influence your beliefs?
I think it really shaped my belief is to, no matter how your back is against the wall, it's very important for people to understand this. Your back may be against the wall, but you must have an understanding that to always trust God's timing. My mother, my father could have given up. They could have just said, threw in the towel, but they didn't. The back was against the wall. But guess what? Their faith, their trust in God, elevated them to understand that God was going to provide. So if you ever read the Bible, you will understand that God has always provided for his people through some very difficult times. And it lets me know that it's never too late to celebrate success. It lets me know that it's never too late to go out and be the best person that God has created you to be. So my faith, my belief is that never give up on people. Never give up on people, because things can change dramatically just like that, instantly. just like that. You may be down today, but tomorrow you can be up just like that. One phone call can change your life forever.
That is incredible. Oh, and I had like a bodily reaction to that. Like, just, I could feel my heart just like opening from you saying that, 'cause that resonates so strongly with me. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with my father-in-law. And his episode is episode 5 of this podcast. And he was raised in poverty and then now has a great job and has like really turned his life around. And he and I had talked about, as you said, when to have faith in people, and I mean, simultaneously like respecting boundaries of like safety and whatnot, but to have faith in people that opening a door, having a conversation, being open-minded, having an open heart, trusting the goodness in people can be the one thing that they needed to turn their life around into something incredible, not only for them and their families, but for others as well. And that's what, and it could just be my bias and my filter, but that was part of what I heard from you, is this openness and trust and just innate love for people, so that then that supports them to show up as the greatest version of themselves. That one call, that one moment can be the pivotal life moment where then they're propelled into greatness and supporting the greatness of others. So beautiful. So wonderful.
Yes, it is.
And I've noticed we've talked a little bit offline about also your passion about like educating people on systems and laws and different practices, and ensuring that people are really knowledgeable about resources and laws and what systems have been built to support them and what systems are maybe more oppressive in nature. And so I'm really curious to understand and learn more about what led you into having that passion as well.
Don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be back with the rest of this conversation in just a moment. So I want to first thank you so much for spending your time here with me on the Nexus of Narratives. I know time is one of our most valuable resources, if not our most valuable resource. And so I'm grateful for you sharing your time with me and my guests on the Nexus of Narratives. Other ways to support that are deeply meaningful is I invite you to join our Patreon community. It's an incredible growing community of people who are seeking to create and cultivate belonging and connection and bring people together across different belief systems. So join us for tiers start at $1 a month, and that is for pre-release episodes, bonus content, additional conversations, live Q&As, live streams, and opportunities to join as a virtual audience to live recordings and ask questions to the person being interviewed and me while we're in the space together. Additionally, you can learn more about the podcast, find other ways to listen and other ways to support by going to www.nexusofnarratives.org. And also, last but not least, if you would like any coaching or consulting from me personally, I would love to support you as a person and your work in the community or in your businesses. So for ways to connect with me to support your personal, professional, or business growth, you can reach out to me on my website or visit my website, www.thenexusimpact.com. And links to those different sites, Patreon, Nexus of Narratives website, and the Nexus Impact website are in the show notes, linked below if you're on a device that scrolls. So thank you again for your time and enjoy the rest of this incredible episode.
Well, I tell you what, I think it's my upbringing of trying to acquire as much knowledge and understanding and wisdom. Before, they put me in the grave, I'm going to get everything out into the open. I don't want to be in my grave and all of my dreams are dead with me. I don't want that. You know, all of my wisdom and knowledge and understanding is dead with me. I want to get it out right now while I am alive. And so I try to, inform people, educate people. And my job is to put the information out there and also request them to go out and do research and be open minded about your political leaders, about your spiritual leaders. You understand? I want people to be really informed about what's really going on in our society. We are a great country. We can eliminate homelessness in America with the snap of our hands. We can do that. We can give homes away to people. We can stop drugs coming into this country. We can stop trafficking of women and men and children. Do you understand that? Because we have the resources. We are a great country. And so I just want to continue to inform people, especially about child support, because child support is not law. Child support is not mandatory. Child support is unconstitutional, according to the 9 justices that said it in 1997. So if people will go out and read the case laws, Blessing versus Freestone, U.S. versus Stage, they will discover that child support is not law, that child support is a federal program. And inside that federal program, it is underneath the Social Security, which is Title 4D. And it was created in 1975. So my job is just to inform the American people. That's the reason why I'm coming out with my next book in June of 2025. I'm pregnant and child support is the father, because I really want to inform men and women. And I help women and men get off child support, because the program was never designed for women. And you got women that are homeless, living in their cars, living at homeless shelters, that give me a call and tell me what's going on in their lives. So what we need to do, we need to revisit the child support program, and we need to eradicate it, because it is dividing families up. It really is hurting families, and they do not discriminate. So I always believe in family. I always believe that we have the resources to do anything that we want here in America. And so I just want people to be informed. I want people to go out and challenge their political leaders and challenge their spiritual leaders as well, because a lot of people are being manipulated and laid astray as well.
Mm. I think you said a lot of powerful things in there, so I'll try to go one at a time on what stood out to me is when you were talking about the child support program.
Yes.
What for you would be an ideal outcome for families who are struggling and can't afford things? Because you said you get families that are calling you and they're living in their car and they don't know what to do and they're struggling with some of these different systemic pieces. And if you're saying child support's not the answer, then for somebody who might be listening and is having some kind of a reaction, what are you talking about? Could you clarify sort of what that support you think would be that would make more sense?
I think the best support is, like I tell them, is all the time that it's going to be a fight. You might be sleeping in your car, you might be at the homeless shelter, but you always have access to a guy like me. You always have access to other resources, because it takes a toll on you mentally and it breaks you down psychologically. So I also recommend that men and women talk to someone, talk to a therapist, talk to a psychologist. You know, a year ago, I was talking to a guy, and his wife divorced him. And his wife had told him, I got what I wanted from you was 2 babies. And she divorced him, and he was so hurt, and he wanted to commit suicide. But thank God he didn't commit suicide, because he gave me a call. And I can remember clearly that I did not even want to answer the phone, but my spirit told me to answer the phone. And I counseled that man for about 2.5 hours. I prayed with that man, and he accepted his divorce. He has a new relationship with God, and he went on with his life. The program, like I said, is causing so much harm to men and women. It was never created to benefit the mother or the child. So it brings a lot of chaos, you know. And here you got some people that is paying child support, but they can't even see their child. They can't see their son. They can't even see their daughter. So it's very, very difficult for women that is experiencing this, and also for men. So child support is fraud, and I'm gonna continue to say it. Child support is fraud. Child support is not law. Child support is not mandatory. Child support is unconstitutional. So please, viewers, listeners, go out and read the case law. Blessing versus Freestone, U.S. versus Stage. Those case laws right there will shine light, and also it will enlighten you about what's really going on in society, because we need to challenge these attorneys, these fake judges, and say, oh, you're not practicing law, you're not upholding the Constitution. This is what the Constitution says, and they're not following the Constitution.
Well, thank you for clarifying that too, because one of the things that I heard that felt really important is this is a system that, you know, maybe people understand and believe is to work in a certain way, but it's not actually serving people in the way that some believe it was set to serve families. And it's actually a force of divisiveness for a lot of people based on their experiences. And to instead say, still find ways to come together. This is what I was hearing. So I want to make sure I'm hearing you, understanding you correctly, is like, there's still other ways to come together, find an agreement, find peace, make peace, and create a better environment for the family, even if it is the parents are separating, that there's still something good that can come out of it that's supportive for the family, and that this system itself could use some work.
Yes, yes. And you hit the nail. It can work, and it can be better for the mother and also for the father.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I also appreciate how you care about encouraging people to learn for themselves, like read the actual documents. I do personally believe that we are in a time right now where, especially when it comes to law and politics and beliefs around anything political or constitutional, that there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of reactivity, and fewer people are taking it upon themselves to become educated from the source. So I do also appreciate that side of what I heard is, what do you believe is important? Like, figure out what matters to you as a person, read the actual documents, become educated from the source, and then make decisions based off of that. And that feels like a really important thing to highlight as well.
Yes. Yes.
So I experience within myself and within people that I'm around often too, is a lot of reacting to things that are going on. And when I think about acting, and this is something I care deeply about and work with people on, is acting in alignment with values. And when we think about acting in alignment with our values and in authenticity, a lot of that is challenging to accomplish if we are reacting to stimuli constantly and not doing that check of what matters to me and how can I ensure that what I'm doing is showing up in alignment with that. So that was something I heard from you too. So thank you for that. And with this passion around educating, acting in alignment, checking in, advocacy, accountability are other things that I heard. What lit that fire in you? Was there a specific something that happened that I'd love to dig into that because you're very passionate about it. It's so clear. So I'm like, how did that come to be for you?
Well, I tell you what, I'm a type of person that when someone tries to manipulate me, I kind of take a step back and try to figure out why. Why you want to manipulate me, why you want to deceive me, why you don't want me to know the truth. So it happened to me, and I decided to go on this journey and start learning for myself. I ask questions, but when I ask those questions, I want the correct answer. I don't want no one to sugarcoat, the answer. I want you to be honest and straightforward with me, because if you don't give me the straight answer and I find out the truth, it's going to hinder our relationship, where a person like me will separate myself from you. And now I have to come out and tell people what's really going on. So it just lit a fire in me to just go out and tell people the truth, what's going on in our society. I was reading the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs 31 verse 9, and it says that you need someone to speak up for the poor. You need someone to speak up for the people that are weak. And there's nothing wrong with doing what I'm doing today, is speaking up and telling the truth.
That's fantastic. And do you mind sharing a little bit about like what one of those moments was in your life that lit that fire for you?
Well, one that really lit the fire for me is that, I have to go back to um, receiving a summons and complaint to go to child support court, and listening to attorneys berate me and other women and other men in the courtroom, and call women deadbeat mothers and call men deadbeat fathers. But what I discovered is that they were state actors. So when you see actors like Whoopi Goldberg, Denzel Washington, these lawyers and attorneys, they were state actors. And once I began to educate myself and look at the summons and complaint, and then I said to myself, this is not a summons and complaint, because a summons and complaint must have three elements. It must be signed by a judge with his or her wet ink signature on it. It must be signed by the clerk with his or her wet ink signature on it, and it must have the seal of the court. And so what I discovered is that child support is a private company that rents out the courthouse and hire lawyers to act as judges. And so once I discovered that, I had called them all out on it, that they were committing fraud. So as of today, it's really, really difficult, not only for me, but a lot of my friends, to trust those politicians and trust those spiritual leaders to get up there and tell the truth. Because sometimes when we are watching a political person up there giving a speech, we already know that they are gaslighting the American people. We already know that they have already sold their souls to the devil, and the devil is the corporations, and the corporations tell them what agenda that they want to push. So it's interesting, but I am a person that likes to go out, do my own research, and then disperse the facts out to the American people and let them know you have a choice. You can either accept it or reject it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's great. It's like, here's information, do with it what you will. You can accept it. You don't have to accept it, but at least make an informed decision with facts and different means of information gathering, I think is a really important takeaway that I got from that.
Yeah. And so one other thing is that people listen to sound bites. You understand, especially coming from the media. And the media is about to be wiped out because of podcast shows like yours. And so that's the reason why they are writing a legislation to ban a lot of podcast shows, because podcast shows is causing what they say a lot of harm. To me, they're not causing a lot of harm. Podcast show is waking up people, because you get guys like me, your father-in-law, we come out and we speak the truth. There's no one in our ear is telling us what to say. like on mainstream media. So that's the big difference.
I was just recently listening to that hit me in a spicy place too. Is I recently had learned about some, I won't name which one, but if anyone's been following, they'll know who it is.
Mhm.
Is a major media source that is looking to change hands of some of their executive leadership, and there is a internal conflict on who should inherit the rights to this company. And it's hard for me to say what is fact or not because I'm receiving information through media. And so I have to take it with a grain of salt. But I thought it was a very fascinating story of the conflict is in who would most effectively carry the torch of what this company had become, as opposed to some people who were in the supposed running to possibly take over this like media empire. Like, I don't like the direction that it's gone. I want it to be more neutral. I don't want it to be so divisive. And that take was not attractive to the existing executives. So then now those individuals were no longer in the running to take over the business. And so I found that fascinating. I have strong feelings on what media has become and how it's become a tool of divisiveness in most cases. I can't say all because I don't listen to all media. And I agree that the sound bites are damaging because it's hard to get a full story, a full picture, and create an educated decision based off of a few seconds. And it reminds me of something that's come up in feedback that I've received about my podcast is I'm not trying to prove anybody right or wrong. I don't need to agree with what people are saying. I just want voices out there. I want to demonstrate how to have compassionate conversations, courageous conversations, bring different belief systems together. It's not about right or wrong. It's about information. And like we said earlier, determining what are my values, what matters to me, how do I want to show up in the world, and then take information so that we can actually show up in the world that way. And some of the feedback that I've received has said, well, the episodes are too long, or in order to reach this group of people, the attention spans are so little, so you need to tailor to be 5-minute to 10-minute segments. And my pushback coming from my place of authenticity is my personal belief is that it takes more than 5 minutes to build a trusting relationship with a person. I think we can give off whatever impression through body language, the way we show up in the world to nurture trust, but to have a conversation that gets beneath the surface, cultivates trust, is compassionate, is empathetic, is listening, is curious, explores the nuance of people. It takes more than a few minutes to do that. And I do believe that the current structure of where like social media has gone and where media has gone takes away from the time commitment that it takes to develop those relationships. And so the attention span and the tolerance has been diminished to actually cultivate that connection. So the stubborn side of me, I'm like, I'm going to stick to the long form. I think it's really important in my beliefs that it's really important to
Stick to
have that.
stick to the long form, but also understand that, you know, when it comes to social media, that what you want to do is give out snapshots of the segment, and because that's what's going to get people curious to want to go and watch the full interview.
And it's work to ensure that those snapshots are an authentic, like good capture of what the conversation actually was. And I'm very intentional about that too. And I'm not so sure that that is common based on what I've experienced in social media. But so I want to dig into the questions that I ask everyone when they hop on, and I think there'll be a catalyst for some cool conversation and nuggets as well. Is How do you feel your story can create connection for people who may have some similar experiences to you?
I think my story is unique and it carries a connection around the world because I grew up in poverty. Um, I had experienced some very difficult times in my life, dealing with siblings rivalry, dealing with mom, dealing with dad, um, dealing with the community. And sometimes you question a lot when you are a child and you growing up and you wonder why, certain people are prospering and your family is suffering. And so, it's a connection of never giving up. It's a connection of changing your mindset from negative to positive. And so I was able to do that. And now people, when they read my book, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child, they have a great understanding that you must have the spirit of perseverance, that you must have a spirit of love. You must have a spirit of giving back to the community. And so I have that connection with people in the community. People gravitate toward my story because it's similar to theirs. It's really is. So I tell people that, hey, go out and get the book. It's really going to change your life. And I get tons of email talking about the connection. And I must say this, um, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to have that connection with you today.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm grateful for the connection that we built and for your openness and joining and sharing parts of your story and your trust with me to hold space with that. So thank you very much for that as well. And the next question I like to ask people is, if someone is in a similar place to where you were, what might you say to a past version of yourself?
I would tell people to basically go out and get resources. When I was growing up, I'm 54 years old, so I grew up in the 1970s. So we really didn't have a lot of resources. So the resources back then was limited compared to now. I would tell people to go out and use the resources that's available. You can call 211 right now on your cell phone. And if you're homeless, if you have drug and alcohol problems, if you have mental issues, you can call 211 right now and they can provide you organizations that can assist you. So, we
That's
have,
incredible. I didn't know that.
yes, yes. So, all you do is share your zip code and they'll tell you the organizations that's in your neighborhood that can assist you with any problem that you are having. That is including with rent, electricity. You with jobs, they can tell you when the job fairs are happening. All you have to do is just, call 212 on your cell phone. So, like I
Or
said,
211?
yeah, excuse me, 211.
Okay.
So yeah, so like I said, today is totally different. We have a lot of resources that can really, really help other people. So, my version of myself now is just go out and use the resources that are available in your community.
Fantastic. And thank you for sharing that and sharing that resource. I was not familiar with that. And recently I have would be my mother-in-law's brothers. So my mother-in-law was telling me about, my brother has moved into this community that they're offering him affordable housing so he can get back on his feet. And they also have mental health resources. They have like therapists on site. They have resources to help him get affordable food and like career resources. And it's like a community that they have apartments and then they have these different facilities on site. And I'm like, wait, what? That is so cool. I had no idea that there were resources like that. I mean, a 20-minute drive away from where I live. I think that's incredible and really illuminated for me it was an important reminder of there's so much more out there than I know. And I try to be connected to resources. And even you say 211, I'm like, wait, I didn't know about that. And so to build on what you said is, call that resource, connect with different community centers, areas in your community there are people who are informed. There are resources out there more than we are likely even aware of. And so they're out there. Get curious and explore those. It's a beautiful message. So thank you. And then next, still for you and anyone who might feel a sense of relation to your story or any part of your story, is what do you feel you needed most throughout your life, or maybe even now, to be connected to the people around you?
Well, what I needed throughout my life was love, Love, because when a woman births 21 children, you can't disperse the love out equally. You understand? So I just needed a lot of love, and I received that love um, through my children. You know what I'm saying? Because you know my father died when I was 8 years old. And I always told myself that when I have children, that I was going to outlive my father, because my father died when he was 42, which I did. I'm 54 years old. And I was able to um, become an educator for my children, become their teacher, become their basketball coach, become their football coach, become their mentor, become their they are adults now, so I can call them my friends now. But it was just love that my children, they love you unconditionally. So when you give birth to a child and you see that child come into the world, you want to love them, and they in return they give love to you. And so it brought a lot of joy and happiness into my life. And so love is something that I was lacking in my childhood, but I'm over it now, because God gave me His unconditional love, and I am content with that.
Hmm. And I also, what I heard was, by giving love, you receive so much more love as well.
Yes.
And that is beautiful as well. And I have to resonate with I will say, before I had my daughter, I intellectually knew this is going to be a love that is beyond my comprehension. And to experience a child's love, it is so pure and so beautiful that I could be in a bad mood, or even she just threw a tantrum and did something and threw something across the room, and I'm like, dang it. And then I look back at her and she just has this loving look, and she's smiling and she's like hugging me or whatever. And I'm like, how beautiful is it to just be filled with so much love and joy? And for me, it's impossible to not be in a good mood when even she'll be upset for one moment. I'm like, think I'm at my wit's end. And then I just get that hug, I get that smile, she'll blow a kiss, something. And I'm like, oh, so much love.
Yeah.
So much love. It's so beautiful. And it's so pure. It's so pure. So thank you for that. And I would challenge to say that is something that probably everybody could relate to, is to say, I just want and need more love. Love is the answer. Just give and receive love. What a beautiful world.
Yes.
That was at the core of how we operated, is how can I love this person as much as I can in this given moment? And, it doesn't have to be romantic love. Just, we can love people and how we show up and support them, and keep our hearts open for them. So that would be a great practice for people to take away. And last but not least is, I like to joke, if anyone is still listening and they're like, man, I can't relate to a single thing that's being said. This is just way too out there for me. For someone who cannot resonate with any of the beliefs, has different beliefs, how can your story create connection for people who have different experiences and different beliefs?
I think they can connect, but they first have to read the book. And once they read my mother's book, Love and Charity, the life story of Louise Hunter, and Love and Charity Homeless Shelter, I believe that they will deeply connect to my mother trials and tribulation, how she grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi, how she grew up on a farm and picking cotton and experiencing segregation and the Jim Crow system that she was under as a child. I believe that once they go out and seek that knowledge by reading her book, they will have that connection, but it will also motivate them to have an open mind about other people cultures as well.
I think that's perfect. And that's the sort of like take a step back message that I received from what you just said is take a step to seek learning about a story and an experience that is different from your own, and use that as a tool to build compassion and empathy for people who have different experiences than you.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
And I think that's beautiful. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. Is inviting people to practice curiosity, take a step outside of themselves and say, okay, whether I agree or I don't, I'm going to take a listen to understand, listen with compassion to someone who has a story different from mine, and use that as a tool to build connection with others. That feels like a really big purpose of my life, is to create a platform for that. So thank you. And is there anything else that you'd like to share? We have a couple more moments. So
well,
the
last thing that I want to share
is that there's a phone call. Alas, we are all still humans.
Last thing that I want to share is that my mother's book, Love and Charity, The Life Story of Louise Hunter and the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter, and my book, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child, both books has been adapted into a screenplay. The screenplay has been completed. Also, I signed a deal 2 years ago with Tailflick. Now we are in the process of putting all the characters together, that who's going to play my mother, who's going to play a beautiful guy like me and my siblings. So I believe in the next 2 years that you and your husband will be going to the movies and seeing the Hunter family story.
Amazing. And we also have links for anyone who's interested, would like to purchase the book or connect with you, learn more about you. There will be links in the show notes for this episode as well. So they can connect with the different resources that you've shared as well. Yeah. So very cool. Well, thank you so much. Hey. I'm so grateful for the time and your vulnerability and sharing stories and just sharing your time and your energy with me. So thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. If I'm ever out in Denver, I will let you know.
Yes, you let me know. Right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.
That is a wrap. What an amazing conversation. And thank you again for taking your time to listen and join us here on the Nexus of Narratives. I do hope this conversation was incredibly enriching for you and that it offered some insight, tools, and resources that you can carry to the rest of your day and other areas of your life to create enriching, connective experiences all around you. I want to offer a special thank you to my dear friend Rowan, who is my co-host in the opening and closing moments of each episode, but then also for carrying the conversations on Patreon with me. Like really tremendous episodes, and it's amazing to have another person to do that with. So thank you to Rowan. That's a huge time commitment that they share as well. And thank you to my sweet and talented husband, DJ, who works tirelessly to do the best that he can to make this audio on these episodes the best that it can be, and also for creating the music that is used in this podcast. So enjoy and have a wonderful rest of your week, and look forward to seeing you back for the next episode or just seeing you on Patreon soon.